All right, I think we are live. Welcome to I don't know what to call this except for a one-on-one, kind of just an interview deal here with a good friend of mine that I've known now for like, I don't know, 7
Okay.
years or so.
Shit.
Tim, we go way back. RDX
Yeah.
podcast, all that stuff. Guys, let me know if you guys can hear us in the chat. There is no camera today. I'm just getting over a sickness. I'm still blowing my nose and stuff, and I just don't want to do any of that on camera. So no camera today. But I am here with a good friend, Tim. And Tim, I mean, we go back a ways, RDX and all those good days, the Real Deal Xbox podcast. That was a lot of fun with Dealer Gaming.
Yeah.
I mean, for years we did that stuff. I mean, you were one of the biggest Xbox fans that I knew back then, honestly. Like, if there was one person I would say was a real deal Xbox fan, it was definitely you, for sure. Dealer, of course, as well. Colt Eastwood is another one. But man, you just have been to a lot of their fan fests and all that stuff over the years. I mean, tell people a little bit about yourself, going back to those days, like when you started out with Xbox and stuff. So we can just kind of, for the new people out there who might not know who you are,
Okay.
know what you're about.
All right. Well, first of all, it's a pleasure to be here, and next time I'll come on camera. I got to get my setup done too as well. So I'll go on camera for you. I know I haven't done many camera things, but I'll do it for you. So I started, believe it or not, I got an Xbox the second week of the launch. So it was because I didn't have the money for the launch. So I waited a week and I got the Xbox, original Xbox, my Xbox beta tester. Always a huge fan, always a big backer of Microsoft, a big fan of Microsoft. I became prominent on social media in 2007. I went on a forum called System Wars. Now, this is going back in the day. Now, the thing about System Wars is that uh, back in the day in social media, it wasn't like instantaneous. You post something and it was instantly responded to. It took time because nobody was really on the internet. Nobody knew what forums were. But anyway, so I was in a forum called System Wars, and I was Project Natal fan, and I would make predictions, and I was a big, heavy backer of Project Natal, which was the Connect.
Yeah.
And this forum was a way of talking to people and getting instantaneous responses. So I kind of was big on there. And then in 2013, there was a forum called NeoGAF, and there was some stuff that was going on with Xbox. People like The Way, and there was a couple of people that were just making up fake stuff, real fake stuff. And the forum was
Oh,
a very
yeah.
prominent video game forum run by a guy named Tyler Malik. He still runs it, but at the time it was the number one gaming forum. And I became really pissed off because I was always an Xbox fan. And again, I never was on Twitter, so I made a Twitter account. And my first tweet was actually to Aaron Greenberg, which he liked, and we commented about Connect and VG Charts had the sales of it, and basically Aaron said, "No way." So anyway, like he said, no, it's much better than that. So I went on Twitter, got on there, but then NeoGAF, the forum started up. I got back to it, and I went after NeoGAF and people that were involved in it, the mods, Bish. There was a bunch of stuff that went on. So I kind of gave my notoriety. Now, again, Twitter wasn't that big at the time. You're talking about 2013. I remember Aaron, he had 3,000 followers. I mean, think about that. And
Yeah, I
had
remember
like
starting
12.
Twitter back in 2009 and just like abandoning it because I didn't go
Yeah.
back to it till 2015.
Right. So it got really popular, and that's how kind of like the whole thing with Xbox started with the community. Um, there was monthly updates, and there was things, and they were very involved in the community. Phil, Aaron, Albert Pinello, Ybarra a little bit later, and that's how I started gaining myself in the community. Then I obviously went on BGST, which is a very, very popular podcast. And then I went to, and then quickly, just to get to the other stuff, I'll
Yeah,
just
yeah.
give you, bring us up to the date. So I went to the Xbox Fan Fest. I met all the executives. I became friends with some of the executives, friends with some of the Xbox people, became a big person in the community. That had went on until until that day when I kind of bolted because of the whole multiplat thing. But that's how basically I got into it. I went to FanFest every year for 8 years until 6 years or whatever it was, and then COVID hit, and you were supposed to go if you remember.
Yeah.
Dealer was actually going to go. It would have been amazing. I was so hyped up. Stupid COVID hits, and then they canceled it, and then they had it. I think they canceled it the second year, but then it was like a half show or something. It was never
It
the
was, I
same.
think it
And
was a
then
digital event the year
yeah,
after, something like that.
because they could. It was still kind of like they were kind of worried about being involved with people and
By
crowds
the
and
way,
stuff like that.
I got to stop you real quick. Detective Seed, shout out to you, man. I appreciate it. He gifted 10 memberships here. I appreciate that a lot, man. That means a lot. Thank you.
Detective Seeds is a wonderful human being. He's always being nice to me, checking in on me, telling me, don't like if it gets like when the Twitter gets kind of nasty. He's like, don't get upset. I have a thick skin. I'm from New York. This stuff doesn't bother me. But he's always a good dude, really good dude. So shout out to him. But anyway, then I went on RDX, which was probably I remember me, you, and the team. We had 6,000 concurrent on one show. Think about that.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's a gymnasium. That's an arena kind of like half full or whatever.
I remember
I
a
mean,
time when we were having so many people, monthly viewers on that show. We were like kicking ass on,
oh
some of the pros and stuff out there. And we were just
yes,
like,
we were
man,
being
it was
yeah.
pretty cool. Yeah.
It was pretty cool. Shout out to Dealer, love Dealer.
Love Dealer.
Yeah, great guy. I actually hit him up recently, but he's on to different things. 'Cause I was thinking about doing a podcast when I got back to like I was going to try to be positive about Xbox and get back to the news about it. But as the joke goes, I'm a curse because once that I think it was like a month ago, then like everything all hell broke loose. But that's basically it. And,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm still friends with a lot of Xbox people, a lot of people that still work for Xbox, a lot of people that used to work for Xbox. Also friends with a lot of community, and I've the one thing positive I could say about this whole situation is that I've gotten a lot of really genuine friendships from people all around the United States and even overseas in UK and stuff like that. So it's not all full of regrets, you know what I mean? But
True.
it's been a trip, and I think we're kind of at a time where it's very fluid, and I'm sure we're going to get into this whole thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been pretty crazy the last week, and I suspect it's going to get crazy in the next couple of weeks, possibly to the next 4 months. You're really going to have to keep your eyes
Yeah,
wide
I, I,
open.
I want to preface this before we get into it by just telling the audience and yourself, like, Tim is on here to talk about what he believes is going to happen and certain things that he knows, and also I just want to say that keep the insults and stuff to yourselves. Don't really I don't want to see Tim get like blasted or whatever in the chat about anything because Tim is
I
just
don't
speaking
care
his
about that,
truth
Fonz.
at the end of the day. And he is a friend of mine that I've known for a while. So I do. It's one of those things where, no, Tim, it's like a lot of people have said things about you over the last few years. And I'll say, hey, you can say what you want, but Tim's still a friend. I don't care to hear stuff like that. But, you're just telling your truth. You're telling what and I
Right.
believe that you do hear some of this stuff that you talk about. And I know there's stuff that you're not going to be able to talk about on the air
Yeah.
and you're not going to divulge into that stuff. And I'm not going to push you to do so. But I definitely know you're speaking some truth here and that you definitely are talking with some people. But I don't know exactly where you want to start off with this. Let's go ahead and talk about like where you believe the future of Xbox is headed. How do you see this whole thing play out yourself?
Okay. First thing is that I don't care what the chat says about me. Just so you know, I don't read the chat. I understand you're a friend and you care. I don't care. I have a very thick skin. People who don't like me are just people that don't like what I'm saying. They don't. It's not that they don't like me. They just don't want to hear what I'm saying. They kind of they want to hear a certain
There's a
thing.
lot of truth to
And
that for sure.
you
There's a lot
you
of
know
truth
what I
to that.
mean? So it doesn't bother me. But now I'm going to talk about Xbox in a way. My personal belief is that I don't think the I still don't think that the hardware is gonna get uh is actually gonna hit the assembly lines, but there is a chance. What I've heard is that basically everything is on the table. What that means is that anything like that they've been discussing as far as games, future ideas of stuff, they are now looking to specifically make a certain margin that they want to hit. They want Xbox to basically be at a certain margin level, profit margin. They want to make money, and they don't care how they get there. So what that means is that the games pass stuff. You saw that. They don't care about public reaction anymore because they're not really in the same place that they were even at the start of this generation. They are in a much more specific market. They are in a much more it's just a different market.
I
They're
mean,
not in
that's
the
pretty
mass they're
evident
not
if even if you
right.
just Tim, even if you just look at the current state of their current consoles and how much they're going for today. 5 years into the generation, we're talking about consoles that are up to upwards of $800 now for them.
Right.
The base model alone, the Series S was a 299 supposedly powerhouse to come into this
Right.
gen to allow people to experience the next gen games, and that thing now is $400.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
we're just getting to the point where you see that they really don't care about much of public outcry anymore.
Right.
Uh, they are about
That's
making
out the
money.
window. Yes, it's all about making money. Okay, they invested over $100 billion into the whole entire business model. Okay, so they're not there's no more freebies. Okay, there has been a lot of freebies, meaning that they've been willing to do stuff and see how it works out. That they are not in that mindset now. They are in a mindset where they're going to get their margins, and how they're going to get it is quite easy. They're going to charge whatever they want to charge to get to that point. They're going to lay off as much as they want and close studios, close games. It's no longer our voices used to have a big, strong presence with them, and they would listen to us. It's out the window. If you have noticed, Phil and Sarah haven't tweeted since September 30th. Okay, I would say just watch those accounts, see if they start tweeting. Okay.
Why do you
So
think that
they
is
are.
though? Why aren't they tweeting since I mean for 13 days? Cuz that is kind of odd, right? They usually tweet on a more consistent basis, I would say.
Well, I think Derek Strickland posted an article or something about something in regard to this, that they hired a finance firm to basically get them. I think I sent you the article or the tweet in a text message, but basically they have finance people now in charge. I would say that Phil and Sarah are kind of powerless at this point, meaning that they're just being told what to do. They're saying this is the way it's going to go. We're doing this, and I don't care what you have to say. So the whole structure that was there is pretty much out the window now. They're going
When
to
you say
do
that, when you say the whole structure is out the window, you're talking about the Xbox division and how they used to run things.
right.
Because I'm of the belief, and you can tell me if I'm wrong. We haven't really discussed this, but I'm of the belief that the old Xbox that people know, and this is where me and people argue, some of the Xbox guys. I tell them the Xbox that they knew is dead. And that's where I say
Yes.
the Xbox is dead. It is now
100%.
more Microsoft gaming than anything, in my opinion. That's the way I see
Just
it.
look just look at Phil's Twitter, his header. It says head of Microsoft Gaming. There's nothing on Xbox on it. You just go look at it. So basically Phil, listen, I had reported on this, and also Tom Warren reported on this, and it was very true that Amy said, "Okay, we have this whole thing with Call of Duty, and basically this is a big money maker. How is this? How are we going to get our return on investment?" And she had brought up it being brought into Game Pass. Now, credit to Phil, he did fight for it last I think it was last year. And if you remember, there was reports, and he even mentioned it at a panel. He's like, "Oh, they even said that we're not going to have Game Pass." You know, he actually took a shot at me there. I think that was specifically for me, but whatever, because I was the guy that said it. That was a real thing. So whatever, that was a debate. Then it did happen. Phil got the way for the gamers to get it put in Game Pass, and then there was a report last week by Bloomberg that it lost 300 million. Okay, that is a stick in the craw of Satya and Amy right now. So that's why I'm saying that I believe that Phil and Sarah kind of are on their outs. Like I don't. My personal belief is that Phil is going to leave at the Game Award show, or he could even leave in the next 2 weeks. It's coming. I don't think he's gonna.
You
He's
think
not
he's going to
taking
retire, huh?
retire. Yeah,
Yeah.
or this is like I said. Remember, I said it's a fluid situation. I don't know if we talked pre-show about that or now, but it's a very fluid situation. So you guys got to understand that this is very fluid, and that's why I talk about the hardware as it's up in the air because it's very fluid. And they were going to have a handheld that was Xbox pushed, and then they switched up, if you guys remember, and then they had the Asus thing, the third party OEM. But they were having a handheld. They were doing something specifically the same as what Sony's doing. They're going to have that PS6 handheld, and they're going to have the PS6. The leaks just came out by Kepler and Moore's Law. Those look like they're real. They look like it's coming out November 2027 or November 11th, 2027. If you go check their stuff out, go check out. They're talking about it. That is real. So,
Well, what
what
about
I
the stuff
believe,
he talks about when it comes to Magnus? Because I do hear from some other people that tell me that they talk to people within Xbox and that they're deep in on
yes, that's all
Magnus and,
true.
and working on Magnus as we speak.
Yes, that is all true, but it's fluid. So, meaning that it can come tomorrow, and some of the stuff that I really won't talk about might come out, and they just say, "Forget this. We're breaking this up, and we're gonna." See, when you don't have Phil in charge now, and you don't have him brainstorming and putting things in motion, and you have a finance firm, and that's heading this and saying, "Okay, this is what you do. This is what you do. This is what you do." When you have that, anything is off the table. They might just say, "Blow the whole thing up, sell Activision, take do stuff like Call of Duty." I think this is the last Call of Duty that hits Game Pass, and I don't think that. I think they'll just take it out, and then they'll keep the price the same. You might not get a price drop next price raise next year, but Call of Duty, I believe, is coming out 100%. And the reason why is because it makes more money when it's out of it. They have a problem with Game Pass and Call of Duty. As you heard, I think Rand and Jez talked about it that Madden sold more on Xbox than it did PlayStation.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so Call of Duty was one of their mainstays. Okay, now you're taking all that money that they used to get, and now you're saying, okay, now everyone's going to Game Pass, doing Game Pass, so they lost money. That's how they lost money. So they're going to probably take it out. So there's a lot of things that are fluid. That's what I'm saying. There's a lot of things that are going to come up, and we're in the midst of it. Okay, like the whole Target and Walmart thing. You don't have to go crazy. Just wait till Black Friday. If there's nothing on the shelf and nothing on the shelf at Christmas, they're not in the catalogs. They're
Here's
already not.
Yeah, they're not in the
You'll know.
catalogs. They honestly aren't in the catalogs for Walmart. That's one thing that's been
Right.
substantiated, the Christmas catalogs and everything. But also, I do know I have a friend that works at Walmart in another state, and what he told me is that in his department they are getting rid of Xbox games. They are getting
Right.
rid of the games, and they're selling off whatever the consoles they have left, and they're probably going
Right.
to get rid of that too, because they are just Microsoft themselves, from what I'm hearing, is not really pushing physical games anymore.
No.
They are not really
Yeah.
spending much on retail space
No.
anymore. And if you look at it, like, and I'm not saying that every Walmart is going to do this and every Target is going to do this, but one thing is for sure. Despite this commitment they have with Walmart and Target, if you go to your
Mhm.
local Target and your local Walmart, I guarantee you that you'll notice that they have substantially decreased the size of the
Yeah.
Xbox
Yeah, it's
section compared to that of the PlayStation and the Nintendo. I know it was like that at my local Walmarts.
yes.
I don't know how it is at yours, but I'm pretty
Yeah.
confident that a lot of places are like that. So them getting rid of stuff, I think that is happening, but it's regional. It depends on where it's
Right.
selling best, where it's not really doing that well,
Right.
what they decide to do with their space. Because each Walmart, they don't have a policy saying they have to sell
Yeah.
Xboxes there or whatever. They don't have to order any Xboxes if they don't want to. It's not that type
Yeah.
of partnership with Xbox. So if they're not selling, like in the case of Costco, Costco got
Yeah.
rid of all their
Yeah.
Xboxes and stuff and will not sell them anymore because they simply weren't selling in their space. And they decided, hey, we don't want it. So this is something that's like dare I say, case by case basis. You
Right.
know,
But it's
that's what it
again, it's
is.
a fluid situation. I keep saying it's a fluid situation. Meaning there's many moving parts and there's things that are not there's nothing set anymore. There's no more mindset. This is completely could change. That's what I said. In 2 weeks, don't you don't have to do anything. Just go and see what's going on. In my opinion, they're gonna lose all the retail space. In Europe, they're basically dead. So I mean, they're done in Europe. So and we'll talk about the Magnus and stuff like that if going ahead. I don't even think that. I think that if they launch Magnus, I'll get into that in a little. It'll just be a United States thing. It's going to be very specific, but yeah, I think that the time of their console is now winding down. So I believe that they're not even making any more Xboxes. Why would you? They're very worried that they're going to have an oversupply,
I
and when
think
you have an,
didn't they already say that the Series X is no longer in production?
I don't think that they've come out with it, but I think it's quite. I think it's
I've
it's
heard that behind the
definitely.
scenes. Then I heard
Yeah,
that they're
I've
no
heard
longer.
that.
Yeah,
I've heard
yeah.
that, but it hasn't been publicly said. I mean, that's the thing. You also have a type of thing where if somebody says something like that, then you have this contingent that says, "No, it's not true. Everything's great. What? There's just Xbox haters going on." They're just the reality is like you just judge what you see. Judge what's going on. It's self-evident. Like you don't need a report to say all this stuff. It's just kind of obvious where this is going. Like there's not, they're not making like I could definitively say they're not making. I've heard that too, of course, but it's obvious they're not making Xboxes and Xbox S's anymore. They're just going to use the supply that they have, and they're going to sell that out whenever they sell that out. And it's they are done with the Xbox Series X and the Xbox Series S. They're done as far as they're not even thinking about that. That's a bad word in Microsoft in their meetings. Basically, they're just clearing it out. There's no plans, and whatever they're going to clear out, they're going to clear out the way they're clearing it out at a very high premium price of $800 or whatever the craziness prices that they have. So the reality is that hardware is in a very bad place. It's not in a good place. And then you obviously come to the question of why would you even do hardware? Now, I'm of the mind, I'm always somebody that can look at the situation and say, what would I do if I was an advisor to Satya? In my opinion, I wouldn't touch the hardware. Do it now as a consumer and as somebody that likes Xbox. Do I want that? Absolutely not. But from a business perspective, it it's they're done as far as hardware. I would get away from that, and I would push to exactly what that leaker sneaker was saying. That see, the thing about him is, like, people said, "Oh, he's fake." He's a real person. He's somebody in the know, 100%, and he knows what he's talking about. So if you're gonna dismiss him, that means you're just being dismissive of just logic because what he's saying makes sense. So what he was saying that it's on the table, it's up in the air is true. The hardware is definitely up in the air, 100%. And everyone at Xbox knows that. Could it still go? Let's go under the assumption that it does go. I hope it goes because I kind of actually like what the plan of the Magnus is, and that's basically, and we'll talk about this now, I
Yeah.
guess. It's basically they're going after the pre-built market. So they're
Yeah.
going
Pre-built
after
PC.
right. So they're going after the PC. It's going to be like $1,200. It will be more expensive than a PS6, and it will be a hybrid. You'll be able to boot into Steam. You'll be able to boot into Xbox. Very specific. Very, it's actually a pretty cool idea in my opinion. Actually, to be honest, I like the idea. I think it's actually something that could work, but it's you're not dealing with any more of you're not even
Well,
dealing with
I think there's a couple
you're
of
dealing
things
with
here,
like
Tim, that
3 million market. Like
we have to
you're not
dissect a
talking
couple of
about a huge
things.
one.
Yeah,
Sure.
we're not talking about a huge market, but I
No.
believe it's if they were to bring out hardware, doing something like this, a PC, in console form factor would be the best thing they could do because it would open up that box to, like you said, Steam and also their games. They would just, be creating their Windows games. They wouldn't be having to create a specific game for the console box. And then again, you
Yes.
have that
There you
Windows
go.
version. You have one game there. That would also tell me it would all be digital. There would no longer be a disk drive for this thing.
100%. 100%.
Most
You're
people out there,
right on the track.
yeah, and most people out there aren't even buying physical games anymore anyway. This even goes for the PlayStation side, by the way. So if any ponies are out there, still yelling forever physical, you're retarded
Yeah.
because that's not happening. Um,
2% now, guys.
it's very small, the percentage that buy
Yeah.
physical. But that would be the best course of action for them. But I would still even say if they did something like that, and let's say they, went more the PC route, it's
Mhm.
still not. I would consider that more PC than Xbox. The traditional Xbox that we once knew, and that's why I'm saying that this is all just like Microsoft gaming going forward.
Yes.
And
100%. You're right on there,
but
Fonz. You're
here's the problem
100%.
though. Here's the problem I have with it. Microsoft is constantly like stepping on rakes. They do a lot of stupid shit. They'll
Yeah.
do some great shit sometimes and look like they're the most pro consumer company. And at one time, I was out there saying they were. And then they'll
They were
step on a
though.
rake and they'll do something so ridiculous to piss people off and to make them look like the bad guy again. So could I see them actually making the machine that I want them to make and that you want them to make? Probably not because they're used to stepping on those rakes it seems like it would be something that would be so easy for them to see and do and probably sell a decent amount. I won't say that they'll sell like a ton of them because the price point and all that.
Right.
Because a lot of people have told me, Tim, a lot of console guys have told me they're already priced out of the market today. If they had to buy a new console today, at the prices they're at right now, they couldn't afford it. It's ridiculous.
100%.
That's why most people
It's
are.
gaming's gonna get expensive.
Yeah,
That's another debate, but gaming is gonna be very expensive, and GTA is gonna kick that off. So that's a whole other debate. But 100%. I mean, I was talking to a former CEO of a video game company. I'm not going to mention his name, but we were talking about this very thing. Gaming is going to get more expensive. It's expensive now, but it went way too long being at a certain price point that it in fact it impacted the whole industry. Like Sony is making a 13% margin overall for their division, I believe. And that when I had just to shoot back to what I was saying, like Xbox, I think they're at like I think Jez even was talking about it about like a year ago. They want like a 30% margin for that in video games, and the way the industry is like ridiculous. So it's kind of unrealistic. So the only way you're going to get there is by doing what they're doing, charging, laying off people, and going absolutely buck wild and not even caring
And
about what
also
customers think.
you have to look at the other elephant in the room, which is AI, and how deep and heavily
And
involved they
that,
are in that as
yes,
well.
there you go. Now that's very real, okay? And there's no debate about that, okay? They don't want 500-person studios. They want 50. And they want AA scale and they want AI. They want to be the leader in AI. See, people have to realize this, and this is a fact, guys. There's no debate here. I don't care who you are, there's no debate. They want to be the leader in AI. And the way Satya is he wants everything streamlined. So that means he doesn't want one part of the company doing one way and the other. He wants everything the same, wants everything on AI, okay? AI is 100% going to be a revolution, okay? And Xbox and Microsoft, if they're still around, they're going to be the ones that say, "Hey, we're doing it." And what does that mean? That means that all these developers are going to get let go, and they're basically going to be writing code to eliminate their jobs, and it's going to come down to like 10 people in 10 years. It's going to be ridiculous. AI is a major problem, but that's another debate as
Yeah.
well. But they're pushing AI 100%. So layoffs are inevitable with them. But yes, they're going to be, if they're in this, AI is going to be in the forefront of their business model with
And
Microsoft Gaming.
and so we could talk about the Magnus and say, okay, so if this thing does come to fruition, they put it out there and it does decently well or whatever. The other problem they have, and I can't stand to be just doom and gloom, but I'm sorry. Right now, Xbox is honestly like one of the most untrusted companies out there because they keep stepping on those goddamn rakes. I'm sorry to put it this way, but the other big issue they're having is their games. And the
Oh, yeah.
fact that they are such a mismanaged company that all these studios um many of them are such in deep turmoil and just a clusterfuck there. We and Xbox can be out there and try to argue with me. These fanboys get mad, but just look at what's going on right now with Halo and the Halo Studios.
Yes.
343 rebranded, and I thought, hey, maybe they get it. Maybe they're going to come together and actually pull this off and become a good cohesive studio. But so many people are leaving. There's things going on there that we just don't know yet about. We've got one person who just left, an artist, after what, 17 years or something. And he says that in due time, he's going to come out and talk about a lot of shit that's going on.
Yeah.
And if
And what?
this doesn't open your eyes, people, I mean, just look back over the years at the article after article that we've read about so many different studios at Microsoft that have had something happen there that has caused games to either get taken
Yeah.
away, or we haven't heard from them since they've come out and announced them. Like Perfect Dark, for example.
Yeah.
A whole
They do.
studio just
Okay.
fucking left. The Initiative was supposed to be their uh quadruple A studio. And then as
Yeah.
soon as we started hearing little inklings of issues and Drew Murray leaving unexpectedly and stuff, and it was just
Yeah.
like there is something deeply rooted in mismanagement there at Microsoft that it has trickled down to all of these studios, most of them, if not all. I don't know if it's all. I'm not going to make that blanket statement, but we've heard so much about Undead Labs, Halo
Yeah.
Studios, The Initiative, um, uh, just different studios that have had their problems. And I just wonder, Tim, what the hell is going on there? Is nobody like watching over these studios and making sure that things are in line?
Well, I think our discussion yesterday that we had on this kind of like like we were talking about how Tim, you were saying how Tim kind of knows people, but when I brought that stuff to you, you're like, holy cow, kind of made sense. But yeah, they're a deeply mismanaged company. The studios are all sounds like 100% mess. There's 100% there's a major internal strife going on. major issues overall. When that stuff comes to light, I don't know. It's not my place to really talk about it, but there are real problems there, and we're like, when you look at a thing like Perfect Dark, they make 7 years or whatever it is, and there's a vertical slice. That's all they have or whatever. It was like a ridiculously
They
small
just
amount of work.
what we saw there is they just created that for the showcase. That wasn't even the game, part of the game. That was
I
just
know,
created
and
for the showcase. And then
you
you've
know,
got other studio. Oh, Rare. That's another one that's been in disarray. Rare has been in turmoil.
it really ties in to certain stuff, but again, it's a
I will say
that
this. I will
stuff
say this, Tim,
that
without
stuff
you
will
saying
come
anything.
out, I
No, no,
think.
no, no. Without you saying anything, I will say this to people. You can connect the dots, folks. Look at certain fires and certain hires and certain people placed into certain positions, and you can connect the dots. You can do it.
Listen, the bottom line is that there will be a time where Microsoft Gaming, not even Xbox anymore, but Microsoft Gaming has a lot of things going on within the organization that one day I believe will come to light, and it's not going to be something that's pretty. One of the things, the reasons why I did deactivate last week was because and I spoke to Fonz about this, I have a lot of regret that I basically put so much time and passion and energy into something that was kind of fake. But, at least fake to me. And now knowing what I know, I do have some
What do you mean
major
that by that? But
regrets.
it was kind of fake. What do you?
Well, again, it ties into the stuff that we talked about. I don't really
Oh, that
wanna
you don't
go
want to get
into.
into. Okay,
Yeah, like with sneakers, talked about some of the stuff, he
I'll
alluded
respect
to
that. I'll
it,
respect that. Yeah.
but, like, it's just something that, I kind of, like, look at my life and I said, "Wow." It's kinda like even with my health, like, you know, I should have been doing different things. I should have been hanging out with my daughter. I should have been,
Yeah.
taking my wife out to, I remember I would tell my wife, "Oh, I got to do a podcast tonight." Some random podcast that I was being nice to a person, and I'm telling my wife, "Oh, can we reschedule?" Like, I have
you,
real
you you
regret.
shouldn't have you shouldn't have fought with Paris, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, but just like it's just things that I should have known better, and I deeply regret doing some of that stuff. But on the good side, I've made friends like you, I've made friends like Rand, I've made friends like Megatron, some really good people. South, so there isn't the whole story's not a doom and gloom. It's just at the point that it's gotten to, I think is kind of symbolic of even like what's going on with them, with all the stuff. I mean, to say they don't have one thing, they have like I saw Red Dragon put that tweet. It got like 1,000 things about the guy. I think his name was Israel Perez or something. I don't know what his name was. I can look at it. But said he's going to come out after this and he's going to talk about it in due time. And I think that kind of alludes to one problem, but there's many problems that plague this organization, and that's ultimately why I don't think that there will be a Magnus, because I believe that this stuff is coming to a head and it's going to come out.
And you could
And
answer this any way you want, but do you say this because you've heard things from certain people up at
yeah,
Xbox? Okay. This
yeah.
is not just your thought process. This is,
No, no.
yeah.
This stuff doesn't. I mean, I think they were trying to say that I crash out and that I'm a psycho and this and that, but like to use that as deflection. But this stuff doesn't like this stuff doesn't come miraculously up in my. I'm not like this stuff doesn't imaginarily appear. I mean, the thing about the sneakers thing was that he had posted some stuff that was obviously he posted the whole thing about You know, them going multi-plat and all that stuff. Everything he posted came true. But there was one thing that he didn't mention, and he mentioned about like the stuff about like the social stuff and the parasocial stuff, and
Mhm.
that kind of really hit me. Like I was like, holy shit! Like there's certain things that I recalled, and that's when my mind started spinning, and that's when I was like, oh my god! And then I thought of things, and I recalled certain things, and I'm like, holy fucking shit! And then I was just like, you know what? And then I pointed back to my regret, and I'm like, am I gonna really think about this and try to uncover this and talk about it? Or am I just gonna just leave it alone and let somebody else talk about it? And or who gives a shit? If it doesn't come to light, it's not I don't give a shit. I'm not wasting my time anymore, obsessing about this shit because it's just it made me basically waste certain parts of it, things that I believe that weren't real. Like I feel that I was kind of used in some ways, and I do feel like that stuff was very real. So anybody wants to say like sneakers is fake and all this stuff, they're absolutely clueless. Like I can honestly definitively say that I have an inside track on what Xbox is doing and the things that go on that maybe 2 people know, like, there other than people that I'm talking about outside of Xbox and Microsoft
Do you
Gaming.
think that you may know more than, say, the average journalist that
Oh,
inquires?
100%. 100%. I mean,
Okay.
put it this way, a journalist I've talked to journalists that are asking me what the story is, and I'm not listen, if Microsoft is listening, I doubt they are, but if they are, I'm not gonna be the guy that's gonna be a whistleblower on this because I'll tell you, I'm gonna be honest. The way Microsoft works is people that whistleblow on them, they aren't very kind to, okay? And it's not something that you go down and you mess with. So I'm not attempting to go there. You guys, I'll say that there's a lot of dots to connect, but it's kind of easy to connect them if you really understand. Maybe it's easier for me because I had like an inside view. I played with Phil every weekend, pretty much every weekend on Friday and Saturday, every weekend. I scheduled things and stuff like that. Scheduled, hey, well, you're going to be on. Yeah, I'm going to be on this and that. So, like, I talked and I learned and I talked to many people at Microsoft too, because they all knew that I was friends with Phil. I was green lit basically. Like I was like, okay, I'm one of the guys. The thing about me that was different is that I kind of like I kinda bolted, and they trusted me, and I was the guy that was, the one you could look and you could see all the people that they have that influence for them or journalists that kind of always come out to their defense. Those guys are basically if they bolt, then it's kind of like a thing where like, okay, you're with us or you're not. And I was the guy that they just really didn't expect to go rogue on them. And the reason why I went rogue is for one reason, because they told me that transparency was the number one thing. I heard things like we lost honesty and trust with the customer with DRM, and now we're just trying to win back that trust. And when they basically weren't being transparent, my fucking alarm bells went off, and that's when I went fucking bananas, and that's when I brought all the stuff to the with that February day in 2024, and everything that I fucking said, excuse my language, but everything that I said is coming to truth, to fruition. Like everything. I said this is gonna happen with this. And people like I said that the division went bankrupt. I had that guy from Boulder Gate 3 like making fun of me, like, oh, you're going crazy, guy. Like, are you okay? That piece of shit from Boulder Gate
Baldur's
3.
Gate.
Whatever his name is, from I don't know what his
Oh,
name is.
man,
But
he's
like
yeah.
but like he took a shot at me and it was like, dude, like you guys are totally clueless. Like I knew what was going on inside. I knew they weren't being transparent. And guess what? They're not being transparent. But now moving forward with Magnus, The main thing right now, if there is going to be a future, and that's the thing with this podcast is we're talking about that, they have to be transparent. They have to
Tim,
come out
I'm going to
tomorrow.
tell you something right now. They're not going to be. I
Well,
don't
then
care
that's
what
why I
people
say
think
there's
of
going to be no
me.
hardware.
Even if there is hardware, I don't think you're ever going to see a time where you're going to have Phil Spencer playing with the community and doing that
No,
sort of thing
that's
again.
all
I
over.
think that is long gone. I
Yeah.
think that was one way. I'm sorry to say this, but it's one way to manipulate a community. It's one way to gain favor with the community, and yeah, it's a form of manipulation. I think that that sort of stuff wasn't necessarily transparency because I guarantee you that there was um, many people that he would play with, probably you included, that he would tell nothing to, not divulge any real info outside of maybe something they didn't mind if it got leaked. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think they
Put it
ever
this way.
divulged any real info to you
Oh yeah.
in those play sessions.
Well, so, no, it was always about like certain things, but there were times where I did get some real info. Like I did get some info. But Phil is a very smart man. Like he knows how to phrase things. He's very cryptic. It was actually to a point where I could like you could ask him a question, he would answer it specifically, but you would understand where he was going. Like I was the guy that told you remember I said that the Xbox had the most powerful console. Remember the whole 12 terabyte thing or the 12 T flops and
Hmm.
all that stuff. I brought that stuff to dealer.
Yeah.
That was me, you know, it was
Yeah.
me. It was Jez didn't even
I
have the
know
inside
I
track.
know you were the source of a lot of information that we got
You
down the
know,
pipeline
but
within our
he
units.
never
Yeah.
said any of that stuff, though. I want to preface this. He never said it. It
Hmm.
was just like something that we would talk about, and he would like talk in a certain way. It was like a cryptic way that you would have to decipher, but you could kind of like figure out things. Put it that way. But I'll say this: I didn't when that all the thing that happened with in February when I went off the rails is whatever you want to say, and I went against them. That was because of the fans. I felt like he wasn't being honest with the fans, and I wouldn't say that I felt manipulated at this point. But uh, currently, I feel like I was manipulated,
Yeah,
and I
100%.
feel like, and I feel like a lot of people in the community were manipulated,
Oh, 100%.
100%.
And I extend
Still,
that out to I extend that to content creators on any side, Xbox, PlayStation. If you're one of those creators, and I've said this last week on the show, if you're a creator and you do not criticize your favorite brand, you are manipulating your audience. 100%.
and
100%.
I know,
And
you
I
know
know
what,
why you do
and
it.
with
And
you.
I don't hate on your hustle, okay? You do you. But I know why you do it. You do it for the super chats. You do it for the money. And that's something that you're going to have to deal with, but in my opinion, integrity goes a long way, and you have to have some semblance of integrity in this game in my
100%.
opinion, to have staying power. And a lot of these people that you see, if Xbox, let's say, doesn't come out with that next console, it's going to hurt a lot of people within the community that do this type of thing. It's already hurting the community with what they're doing
Yeah.
and them not
That's
being
that
transparent.
all that stuff's gonna come to a head one way or another. This is going an ugly route in my opinion, and it's all gonna play out. As my friend Tommy always says, "Just let it play out." Well, it's playing out now, and it's not gonna be a nice couple of months, I don't think. And I think it's gonna be the layoffs are gonna be very big. Like, you thought that the layoffs were bad last time, they're gonna be very big. And again, it used to be that the public outcry could kind of, you know, make Xbox think twice. There's no thinking twice anymore. They're doing what they want, and it is what it is. You know, I have to say, Satya has been very patient, but you know, it was evident to me in 2024 that this is now a troubled sector. This is now something that's going awry, and And that's why I had said all those things, 'cause I could see it plain as day. I said, this is going one way, and it is going that way.
Yeah, a lot of
But
people
like I
feel that
said,
Microsoft has taken the reins, and hence Microsoft Gaming
oh,
is born.
100%,
Yeah.
100%. It's born, but the thing is that do they really wanna deal with it? I mean, if they could, if they, the whole thing is that it is a small part. Like everyone says, they're a $4 trillion company. They still want money. They don't just put money into $100 billion and say, okay, do what you want. No, it's not. Where is my return on investment? And I want to say this about Sony. Sony never did the parasocial thing. So, like, they were smart with this. Like the whole thing with the parasocial and the relationship with the community and all that, like, hey, he's one of us and we're all like all together. It did start from a genuinely good spot. Like it was a genuinely good idea, but unfortunately, it went. And this is why you don't have these type of relationship, is because history tells you that there's a reason why there isn't this buddy buddy corporation with their community. It's because it gets ugly.
Yeah. That's why
And Sony
PlayStation.
was
Yeah.
that's why Sony doesn't do it.
Yeah.
That's why Sony never sent Colin Moriarty a PlayStation 4 Pro, and they said it. They were like, "Oh, we didn't even get it." Because Sony, as much as people were saying they were paying off the media, they knew not to do that. They knew not to get involved with that stupidity. And looking back at it, I think Xbox did have good intentions, but it now it went a very nefarious way. Like when you're talking about like people like, hey, we're going to use them as an influencer, but we're not going to tell them. You're going to be their friend, and you're gonna buddy buddy, you're gonna get them on Xbox Fan Fest. That's when it comes to a point where you're like you talk about integrity and you talk about all this stuff, and that's why I say right now, honestly, I do feel a certain kind of way. Like, holy shit, I'm trying to be. I think these people are my friends. Now I do have some real friends at Microsoft, but certain people like. Dude, I was being used, and I was naive. You know,
100%,
I
bro.
I was being used, and I was naive to think that like, yo, this guy's being my friend. It's like, now the joke's on me, and it's like, trust me, that's not a good feeling to have when you realize that, and then you look
I
at your
will say
kid
this
and you
though.
look at your life.
There are a couple of guys that I will give them credit. And you don't even have to comment on this if you don't want to, but
Yes, they're good people, and
Jason Ronald,
yes,
amazing
good.
person, constantly, when does, he'll get in contact with me at times, and check in on me and everything, especially since my parents died and everything. Really great person. And also Aaron Greenberg is another one who
Yes,
is very
awesome.
much the same. Um,
Right.
and I know people give Aaron a lot of flack, the marketing and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, I truly believe that Aaron himself is a good person. And this has nothing to do with
I don't think he's a great
Xbox giving
person.
me stuff, because Xbox doesn't give me stuff. Xbox, matter of fact, Aaron Greenberg and Jason are the only two guys that have ever followed me on Twitter out of the Xbox camp. Like, even when I played games that one night with Phil, when you brought me in there to talk to Phil, we talked for like 2 hours, and Phil never followed me. And so I never, looked at him like, oh, he's a friend. Never looked at Aaron in quite that way until this year. I was like, wow, Aaron is actually a real,
Let,
genuine human being, and so is Jason, big
let
time.
me
And
just say
despite
this.
what I say about Xbox, it doesn't reflect what I feel about those two human beings. I think they are
And let me
legit
and let me just
people.
preface this by so let me just let's piggyback then and honestly say that I only have one problem with this with one person, and you guys can figure out who it is. Everyone else I have zero problems with. They were very good people. Aaron is a wonderful person. I only really have a problem with one person,
Mhm.
and I definitely do feel used. I feel manipulated, and that's just the way I feel. But is it something that I'm gonna let like really bother me? Not really. I mean, that's why like
Well, let's be honest.
I'm going
When
on with
at
my
the beginning,
life.
it did. It did. In the beginning, it did.
Yeah,
You
well,
moved on
the
from it.
last
Yeah.
kind of like the realization came last week though, Fonz.
Yeah.
Like when
Really?
I saw that, yeah, like I didn't know I was like it would maybe I thought like okay, but then like I realized like it's like something like you ever have something happen, you kind of look back
Oh yeah.
and
100%.
you look back at things and
You
you kind of like look at it and then you're like, oh my god,
the thing that you
that's the
told
moment
me
that I had.
the thing that you told me that we're not going to discuss here, I'm sorry, I wish we could, people, but the thing that you told me when you said that one word, it all fucking clicked, and I understood exactly why I've been feeling like Xbox has been going down this route for years. It it
Yeah,
it totally clicked, and I was like, if we could say this to people, it would click for everybody. Everybody would
yeah,
understand, and it would be so easy to see. And that's why I implore people, connect the dots. Just
yeah.
look at
You know,
man, I
yes,
can't.
connect the dots. But you know what it is, and don't even go because I don't want you
Yeah,
to.
I'm not gonna ruin
You
that.
know what I mean. But like the thing is that clicking moment that you're talking about.
Yeah.
That's what happened to me.
Yeah.
God is my witness on my daughter. That's exactly what happened to me. And that happened. That was when I deactivated. That was like, oh my God, like this is just wow.
Doc Dark,
It
I'm
is
not going
really
to say that word because I am not going to get implicated into anything. I don't want anything legal coming my way. I will tell you that right fucking now. But I know exactly what it is. And it's like, it's so
listen, they
obvious.
have a magnitude they have a bunch of problems. So they
They
don't
do.
have one scandal.
It's a
They
lot.
have
It's a
like
lot.
they have like 5. And, I do think there are people that now are seeing they're following the dots, and there are people that are asking me, "Hey, what's going on? We know something's going on there. We know this is now too weird." And you know what? The way they've operated just in the past,
Yeah.
it's just not a way you should operate, in my opinion.
Well, again,
And
I go back to this not being the Xbox you once knew. I go to
how
Microsoft Gaming now, and what does Microsoft do with the rest of their product lines? Are they the best at managing product lines outside of Windows, let's say? No. They're not
well,
the
they have a
best at that.
problem with the studios is a problem, major problem.
I think the whole
And they
division is a
also
problem for Microsoft.
yeah,
The
yeah, they
entire
do. They
division.
have but they do have certain things that I do think like the first thing, like I said, the first thing is the transparency. Even though that they're like, okay, we're just gonna price gouge and we're gonna get money and we don't care what public opinion is. They do still have a lot of people that kind of really want them to do good, including myself. Even with all the shit that I said, I'm willing to say, all right, you know what? Because I don't think that I think they're gonna have a whole
But
management
that's the
change.
thing, I don't see that happening, Tim. As much as people will be screaming
Yeah.
at us right now
Well,
saying, "Why
if
not?"
they
Uh,
if they do
Xbox will never
change,
come back. They're not going to do what they used to do. They're not gonna be what they used to be. It's
no, no,
impossible at
no,
this point,
no.
especially
They need an overhaul though. They need somebody in charge, and I do believe that's going to happen. So what I do think is going to happen is that you're going to get a new CEO if they even go ahead with this. So it's either this or they just can the whole thing and start selling it off. In my opinion, that's what they're going to
well,
do.
because I mean, let's look at this
Just
short
make it.
term. Let's look at the short term. Next year, they plan on having a few games, Forza Horizon 6, which is one of their biggest games, one of their biggest franchises. Honestly, but it's in a category that's considered niche when we're talking about the whole of video games, racing, but it is one of the best. It's heralded as one of the best.
It's a blockbuster. It's a
That's coming out,
it's their biggest game. It's their biggest game now.
and
It's bigger than Halo.
and that should do very well, especially in Japan.
Huge,
But when
yeah.
you look at their other titles and you look at how far, let's say, even Gears has fallen off, people are excited about Gears E-Day. I'm excited about Gears E-Day. But is the casual market excited about Gears E-Day? I'm not so sure anymore.
No.
But here's the thing, though. What I'm looking at is this one game they've got that is stirred up some excitement, and I'm thinking this could be a franchise that they renew and put on the map again, which is Fable. And I'm looking at Fable and I'm like, Fable has to hit. It has to land. This is the one game I think that they have to rest everything on. I mean, what else is coming out besides Fable and Gears E-Day for them? I mean, when we're talking about a big franchise or whatever, Fable to me, when I look at that, and this just could be a me thing, it has to really resonate with a lot of gamers out there and has to be a massive hit for me to say, okay, maybe Xbox can do this. Because I'll be honest, and I know a lot of people say, I don't like games or whatever, Fonz doesn't like games. There's a lot of games I love. I play a lot of games that you guys might not like. There's Expedition 33 is my game of the year. I love that freaking game. I love PoE 2. I play a shit ton of that. I've got well over 700 hours in that. But there's certain, if I look at certain games within Xbox, let's say this past few years, I haven't been really that excited about any of them. Starfield was the one I was really excited for, and I had a great time with it. I liked it, but I didn't love it. I didn't love it like I should have. And even looking at Bethesda, which I consider one of their biggest studios out there, I'm not totally like secure in thinking that their next game is going to be fantastic, because they're still relying on an engine that, let's face it, it's kind of old,
outdated,
and I'm looking at what other franchises they have, what other games they have coming out in the short term, and I'm like, well, they've got Fable, because they got rid of Perfect Dark. That could have been one of those, but Fable has to land, in my opinion, for me to be like, okay, maybe this will work for them. Maybe they can turn something around, and I really rested a lot on Fable.
Yeah, I understand, but I had high hopes for Fable, but now knowing of what I've heard, like their kind of the issues that they're having, I don't know. I don't think Fable's.
Really?
I think I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. That's just my guess. I
And I'm
don't. I think
wondering this
Fable's.
too.
I think
Speaking
Fable's
about
gonna get
Fable, I'm
delayed too.
yeah. Okay, so
I
a
don't
lot of
think
people
that
are
city is
expecting a delay.
2026.
A lot of people are
Yeah,
expecting that's not coming in 2026. I've heard that as
me
well.
either.
But
I'm
but
like,
let's say,
carry on though.
what about what they showed of Fable? Could that be a situation, sort of like the Perfect Dark situation, where they just created that
I was
for?
thinking the same thing.
See, I
Yeah,
don't even know.
yeah,
See, this is why
yeah.
Microsoft
I
is
don't
the
like
most
that
untrusted
big.
company. They're not
Yes, like
trusted.
well, that's great that I just very funny that you brought that up because I thought about that the other day. I'm driving and I'm like, like they did that with Perfect Dark, but you know what? And then I specifically thought about uh, remember when she's like a little, the giant,
Yeah, yeah,
they
yeah.
start it and he's like a giant. I'm like, how does that tie in? Is that really going to be in the game? Or was that just a prop? Or was that just like something that was just
Kind of
to
like a fairy
wow us?
tale thing, like just a
Yeah,
narrator
or it's like
talking about, yeah, I don't know.
exactly, or like something like being misled, and that's why I'm talking about the transparency thing, Franz. It's like right now the APB or whatever you want to say, the 411 is out on them. Like nobody's trusting them, and to be honest, I don't even know if they are like I don't think that they can be trusted. But now, like they have this major problem. It's like if they're not transparent now, like they don't say what like maybe what their plans are like, I would have came out and said, okay, yeah, we're full on Magnus. We're doing it. We're not some PR guy that works on Sunday that no connection to Xbox. Like I hear Destin calling Costco. He's like talking to some stupid manager. Like, dude, like
Yeah.
where are these guys? Like it's like, okay, if Phil said we're committed to Magnus like he used to do back in the day and put out the fires, then it would be something like, okay, like we could believe them. Now it's like, okay, why isn't Phil or Sarah tweeted since September 30th? Like it's very odd. They both simultaneously never went that long since they've had accounts to have a space like that where they haven't tweeted. and it's still going as of when I went on this because I've been watching it.
Yeah.
It's like they can't really be trusted. That's the problem right now. Can you trust them? And I think the answer is a resounding no. And I think everyone knows that. So, like, how are you going to build momentum? How are you going to get something people to buy something
And usually
that
you build
sounds like
momentum.
great,
Yeah, but
but
usually you build that as a gaming company with the games, and it's like
yes,
you can't build that around Forza Horizon. Like, yes, that's a great racing game, but again, that's not something that's really going to build you being the biggest third party publisher
right.
out there.
It's not a GTA. It's
And,
still a big game, but it's not
and I
like
know a lot of people hate to hear, especially Xbox guys. They hate to hear that, some of us out there want to see them make a big, game, sort of like a Sony game or something. Where is that for them? Like, where's their Wolverine? There's many people out there excited for Wolverine. Where is that for them? And we've been asking for things like that for years. These big, open world cinematic, over the third
right.
person, over the shoulder action adventure games and stuff like that. We're not getting that from them, and
Yeah.
and and
Well,
and
you're
I
not
don't.
getting that.
Yeah, I don't see that happening. I don't
No,
see it
and also
happening.
then you go back to the thing. Well, if they did, they don't have exclusivity now. So now everything's on PlayStation. So not only does PlayStation get the Wolverines, the Last of Us 3s, and all these unbelievable games, but they would now get
Xbox games.
Blade,
Yeah,
the Blade. So it's like
the Forza
they have
Horizon
all
6. They get that.
right. You
Yeah.
get, I mean, so it's like something where like from all angles they're getting hit from, and it's like where is the focus and where is the path that they set forward? I don't think that they can even tell you that. That's why I say they need a complete management change and somebody with a vision that they can stick to and somebody that can clean up all these messes. Otherwise, then the other answer is to simply
Can I
blow
ask
it
you
up.
something really quickly, since you do know
Oh,
several people within the executive branch there in that division? Do you think there's anybody there that could clean it up right now?
I can tell you this much. There was one guy that actually asked Jay Allard, "What can we do?" This is in 2024. They asked Jay Allard. I know everyone's familiar with them. The Xbox fans. If you're a true Xbox fan, you know who Jay Allard is. And he said it's unfixable. So when you get a
Mm,
guy like that saying that, and that's what I was told.
wow.
So because I think they're looked upon by like guys like Jay, Sean Layden, everyone, like nobody wants to touch it
Damn.
because they,
It's a
they
lot of
kind of
studios to
know
try to handle too, you know?
the studio. And listen, there's no accountability too. There's also a thing with accountability. Like, let's be honest. It's like, how does this guy Booty? How does you could make an argument for Phil, but you can make an argument for anybody to be honest. But like the guy, there's people like Booty who's getting a promotion,
Yeah.
and he's like how like what's going on here?
Yeah,
Like
I've asked that question
this,
for a while. Like,
you
what has
know,
he been doing? When every
and
time we hear that there's a studio in turmoil, I'm like,
where is the
what is
account?
Booty
Yeah,
doing? What's going on with Booty?
listen, the hits are going to keep on coming. That's all I can say. This is not going to a place where there's a positive momentum spot. That's why I'm like, you're like, Tim, are you really sure that they're doing this hardware? And I keep telling you, nah, I don't think they're doing it, man. I think that I don't see a path set forward that they can fix this. Or I don't see, maybe there is a way, but you know what? And I come from a genuine spot. Like when I remember I was on the podcast with, I think, Mooch, and we talked about Forza Horizon, and I got a little glimmer of hope. I'm like, maybe they're going back to timed exclusivity, and they have a vision of like, hey, we're going to do this proposition. We're going to give you Game Pass. We're going to give you
I-
6 month exclusivity, which helps us in our studios
Yeah.
and and the way we're developing games, and it puts you guys back as a focal point and gets you back on us. there's no this they don't you don't know what they're doing
That
because they're not talking.
it's not about timed exclusivity. After all, it was just about needing time to make a PS5 version.
Right, which, but that's the thing. It's all up in the air. But again, it's me trying to say, okay, thinking. It's like
Wishful
I'm gonna,
thinking. That's what you were
I'm
doing.
gonna I'm gonna give you. I'm gonna read something to you guys.
All right.
I'm just gonna read something to you, and I'm not gonna say who it is, but I'm not gonna say. And this is somebody that I would say that you all know and you respect. But I'm gonna read something, and it basically in regards to Xbox. Okay, it says, and we were talking about Xbox, so this is their response. I mean, look, we know where they are going, and so you just have to accept it. It is what it is. We can't do anything about it. Even though it seems pretty obvious it's not going to work, nothing either one of us can do can stop it, no matter what we think. Now, if you guys knew who that person was, you'd kind of be like, wow. So, like, you got to understand from my perspective, when I have people telling me this, that I'm a very well respected person that knows a lot and is very knowledgeable and is very smart, and they're saying stuff like that. Why do you think that I'm going to be like, hey, everything's great, guys?
Yeah.
Magnus is coming. We're going to take over.
Hmm.
Like, there's no hope. And that's the thing. It's just like I want there to be hope. I want us. I like I said, we talked about a lot of stuff here, but the Magnus, in theory, could really be something actually that could work. It could be something that be a entry point PC pre-built that is pretty awesome. But can they convey that to us and have our trust with this? The answer is no. They can't get that off the ground or get that kind of path set forward. They have the problems with the studios. They have the problems over here. They have the problems over there. They got this scandal. They got that scandal. They're not talking. And nobody's saying anything. It's like such a headache. You don't think that Sati has people in his ear that are from like the finance division and people that are looking at the situation be like, Sati, cut ties, man. Just break it off. You use that money. We're gonna take a loss here. We're gonna maybe sell this for 100 billion or whatever,
Yeah.
and we could break it up and sectionalize it and sell it and whatever. Take some parts and make money, slim it down, make it all AI, and then we take that money. Let's just invest it into an AI starter company or AI type technology, and just be done with Xbox and be done with this headache. You don't think that's being talked about right now? I mean, like, it's not Tim being crazy or Xbox guy people hating on Microsoft. No,
No, I
these are
mean,
real logical things that you would think that are being talked about, like they are.
I know a
So,
lot of
like, what
times
else can I say?
you got people out here that will fanboys will fanboy, and they'll talk about how the Xbox is giving them the best games, and it's like if you just be a little bit objective and you look into, say, pick a game like let's say Avowed. Objectively, this game is not well received by most people. Matter of
No,
fact, did you know that? Well, we don't know how many has sold on the Xbox side because that's never been divulged. But they say that, we've had 1 million players or whatever they say on the game, right? But again, the thing I reiterate about Game Pass is when a game is in Game Pass, there's many people who will try a game. And whether or not they try it for a minute or 10 hours, that's counted within that million gamer
yes,
count that they put out there. And so that's never like a big tell for me. It really isn't. What's a bigger tell for me is I look over at, say, I'm looking at it now, Steam. They've sold a little
yeah,
over 150,000 copies of Avowed. Is that really
yeah,
moving the needle, guys? No.
no.
And then you've got games like South of Midnight, sold even less.
Oh
And
yeah,
and
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 listen,
and this is the
then you
type of
talk about
stuff
how
that you're
much.
getting, and people will run with this saying this is why I love Game Pass, and it's like, is it really? I mean, are these games really
Well,
moving the needle for you?
and it's
Maybe
also
for
like
some it is. It's all
And,
subjective. But if you look at it
and
objectively, it's really
yeah.
not moving that needle.
And also, like, I have to say, like, Colin Moriarty has been one of the biggest naysayers about Game Pass, and he used to piss me off. But he stayed consistent with this, and he's proven itself right. Like, you look at Game Pass, and you look at the way it's structured. I think Sean Layden's another guy that's been very critical of it. The math's not mathing. So, like, a game like South of Midnight cost a ton of money to make, or it cost a lot of money. A game like even Doom cost a lot of money. It's not they're not making the money that they're not getting the returns on all these games. So theoretically, they're taking the losses. Well, they are. They are literally taking losses on these games. It all adds up. There's not like the math doesn't just math up. And that's the thing. Like they were like, oh yeah, 5 billion. Okay, so then why are you raising the price 50%? It's like,
And that's also
yeah,
another reason why they don't really want to spend much on these games as well.
right.
Because the
Like the
return
games,
just isn't there. Even if you're getting 5
right.
billion within Game Pass, let's say that's still happening for
Yes,
you, even with the $30 increase, or the $10 increase, I should say, $30 a month.
right,
You're
right.
still looking at a situation where you're still having to put X amount of games in there. And now they're promising 75 new games a year, up from 50. So you're getting 25 more new games a year. But what does that really entail? They didn't really tell you what you're getting. A lot of that is going to be what you're getting now, which is a lot of indies and
Yeah,
smaller games that, again, I tell people all the time, within Steam sales you can find for a couple of dollars. And if you still think that's worth it for you to spend on Game Pass, so be it. I don't see the value there anymore, especially at that price tag. I think
right.
it's way
It
overinflated.
hurts it.
Especially when you look at the type of games, for me anyway, the South of Midnights, the Avoweds, that
Yeah.
does nothing for me. Even Forza Horizon, I'm not a big racing guy, so I'm not in that camp, but I understand those who are. But I just kind of tell people to really think about those of you that are one of those guys that are set it and forget it people and just like are going to pay the $30 every month. Really think about maybe taking that out and just buying whatever month you want for whatever game is you
Well,
really want to try or play. Because I know that that's what they rely on. They rely on people to set it and forget it. And it's just that's not cool with some of the offerings that you
yeah.
have for a lot of people out there, especially at $30. I would go on to say that most gamers now don't see it really as a big value. I
No.
mean, Paris himself was the guy saying that
Yeah.
it was the best value in gaming. He no longer says that because of that price tag
No,
now.
that's the problem though too, is that Game Pass now the one thing that everyone can point to as being like, hey, the best value in consumerism. I would even go that far
Yeah,
at one point. Now you kind
same.
of like throw that out the window, and now it's like, okay, well, I could just buy my games outright, and you're back to square one. And again, you're another pivot, like yet another pivot. They were
Yep.
estimating projections of 70 million by 2027 and 100 million by 2030. Absolutely not happening now. They
Like,
realize that.
maybe you know this, Tim. Next year, I see this totally happening now, especially with the $30 a month for Game Pass. Next year, we're going to have $80 Xbox games. It's going to happen
Yeah,
because they're going to
that's
make it
good.
look
Forza
more like a value
Horizon.
now. They're going to make it
Yeah,
look like a
well,
value with Game Pass.
exactly. Right. So yeah, the gaming is the whole thing is going up and more expensive. But this is with Magnus. You have to realize if it does happen, I believe you're going to go fully digital. That's happening 100%. That's a reality. You're going to be dealing with either $1,000 price tag. I think it's going to be 1,200. Okay, but it will be the most powerful console. We'll have certain things that have availability, but you're going to now your market is now 1,200 retailers. You're most likely going to sell it on their own site, and they'll probably pick somebody like Best Buy and have some type of deal with there. It's not going to be massively available.
Yeah.
Things like, are they gonna just now make a Windows version of the game, and they're going to support the S, meaning that the games that come out in 2028, let's just say, they're not because the S at that point, I would think that it would be specced out, or you really wouldn't. It's a headache already. They're gonna they're gonna tell you, hey, you want to play S? You want to play Blade, or you want to play Forza Horizon 7? Play it on the cloud, sir. That's what you got. So
Yeah.
they're going to do stuff like that, and they're not going to care. Listen, if
I have a
anything that this whole thing taught, just let me make this point. If anything this all taught you about this whole Game Pass thing is that they do not care anymore what you say. They are going to do whatever they want, no matter how much you say you're canceling. You basically tested it and put it to test, and they basically gave you your answer. They don't care. They're doing what they want.
I have a good friend of mine who is pretty popular on YouTube. It's not Colt Eastwood, guys. It's another guy. He's told me that he feels like Xbox might go down the route of putting out a Game Pass version that's free but filled with ads within the games.
Oh, that's happening 100%. 100%. That was
Because he
talked
was
about. I
telling
was,
yeah,
yes,
go
that's
ahead, go ahead,
happening.
go ahead.
I was talking. That's going to be the cloud entry one. That was talked about at. It was at the time. It was a meeting with Phil. Cognito was there. Maddie Plays was there. A bunch of other people, and basically they were talking about barrier to entry to barrier, basically, and that basically is a tier of, and we discussed it actually as a group with Phil over dinner, and we went to the Chop House in New York City, and it was a meeting that nobody knew about. It was basically was under the assumption that nobody talks about it. Nobody did really. It was just stuff that was talked about. Boom asked about, Boomstick asked about, Banjo. And I actually think I was talking about this. This was the tier. So there's going to be a tier that's basically a free tier, I believe, and you have a certain amount of time that you can play a month. It's basically a demo thing, and it's going to be. They might have even a cheap tier that you have cloud access, and that's the barrier to entry. I don't know if that's not the word that they use, but they use like a way to get people in the market that are like cell phone users, like people that don't want to be have a console, don't want to have a PC, but they want to play on their phone, or they want to play off the cloud, cast it to the cast whatever, play it off of the cloud. But yeah, that's 100% coming. And
And
actually, I know you're really against it. I was at the when I was discussing it. In my opinion, I don't have a problem with that. I know gamers go absolutely bananas about that, but like if I'm on Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, I don't care what anybody else does. I'm on a Game Pass Ultimate.
yeah, yeah.
But I know that you and I know a lot of people, I would say the majority, go bananas about this ad thing. So, but it's definitely coming.
No,
100%.
I honestly think that if you're giving something for free, well, it's not for free because again, it's going to be riddled with ads. That's something
Yeah.
that's up to you to try to, you know, guess if you want or not. Like, you know, you can try it and whatever, but I would never do it. But I mean, for some people, it might make sense. Real quick, I want to get through some of these super chats. I had one from Glassdoor. He says, "Can't trust a dude with two female names. The street rides with Timdog. Microsoft only got into gaming because they thought PlayStation was a threat. It's not."
Well, that's true. The living room. They wanted the living room. What's back? That goes
And then
back in the day.
we've got Face 23 BKNY. I appreciate you, Glassdoor, by the way. Appreciate you too, Face. He says PS5 sales are digital 80%, 20% physical. Yeah, I mean, it's probably further than that now, but
Yeah.
yeah, even at 20%, that's on life support with physical games. If you think about it, Xbox is an American company, and we know all about those tariffs and where these discs are being pressed in China, and they don't want to pay those tariffs anymore. They don't want, as much as possible, anything coming from China anymore. So they don't want to spend on that. So I could see them going totally digital. I could see that even happening for Sony
That's
next
definitely
generation.
happening.
Lord Metroid, thank you for being a member for 29 months. He says, great conversation, gentlemen. Love this channel. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yeah, the thing is like this console, talking about if it does come out, this Magnus, one thing that could be really good about it too is the fact that it is basically a PC, and that you'll be able to access all your games there. And it'll be a lower entry price than even the lowest, like, decent PC out there, like the mid-range PCs and
By
stuff.
far,
And it'll still run really, really competitively.
Yes.
The possibility
Very
there
true.
could be a very good machine. I will give it that. So even somebody who, say, is not necessarily an Xbox guy, he might buy into it thinking, oh, well, this is the cheapest entry point into PC that has decent quality specs. And that could happen. And that's where I think they could benefit. And that's why I say, even though it's not your traditional Xbox and this is more Microsoft gaming, if they could build that for you and put it out at, say, a $1,200 price point, I think that would be pretty darn good for, say, like mid-range performance.
I think it would be I think it's an excellent idea. I think it's a good, well, I didn't say excellent, but I think it's a good idea. But it also, the problem lies in, again, with management. You need, first of all, if they're doing this, 100% Phil's not heading this. 100%. It's not Phil. It's not Sarah either. I think they're
No,
both out
you've
of
already
favor
said
right now.
earlier you think Phil's retiring soon.
Yeah. You would need you need somebody to communicate this, even though they're not talking. You need to communicate this because it does have a lot of potential. It does have a market that they need to communicate to. So they need to communicate to people like me and you. We can understand it. Okay, yeah, you know what? We're gonna just bite the bullet. It's $1,200. It's whatever. We're gonna get it. We get Xbox. We get Steam. Not really. That we're not the problem. Like we're gonna be into it. Now, the person that wants to buy a PC for gaming now looks at the pre-built and doesn't really understand what that is, what the Magnus is. They have to communicate that to that person, meaning like somebody who is a gamer, or kids are now looking at gaming and stuff like that, and they're like, okay, I'm going to buy a pre-built. You could go online right now.
Well,
What are they, 1,800, 1,900? Oh, they're way overpriced.
well,
Dell does
you
it.
can buy a pretty decent one for, say, around $1,500 now.
Okay, so that person that's looking at the 1,500 Dell right now, they want to get that person to buy the Magnus. So how are you going to communicate to them?
I think the way
So
they do it, though, is they still market this thing as a console. They still
see,
push
and
it
then
in that
there's
way.
the problem. So here's the problem, though, Fonz.
It's an expensive console. Exactly.
It's an
That's a huge
expensive
problem.
console, and it's a confusing proposition
Yeah.
to, like, okay, like what the F is this? Okay, is it a PC? No, I'll just get the PC. So, and then also another problem, and said this to you yesterday, was, okay, if Xbox is doing this, why the hell isn't Steam doing this? Because Steam really has the inside track for this. This is right up Steam's alley because they could do it themselves, and they did what? They did the Steam box, right? But
Yep.
this is now a different idea. And then somebody said that, I think I talked to this with several people. They said that they are doing that. That's another thing. So you're getting away from Sony, which now you're getting away from that, which is good because Sony is now, like, they've asserted dominance. Not even a question. There's no more console wars, guys. It's over. Like, don't even talk to me about that stuff. Completely
Yeah.
over. I don't want to. It's not relevant anymore. It truly isn't. But now you have Steam as a potential competitor, and in my opinion, they got a real problem if they're a competitor. But now supposedly you can have access to Steam storefront and all that stuff. Is Steam Machine gonna have access to, I guess they would just have Steam, but like it just becomes something again where you're in this spot where you're doing something, but your communication and your messaging has always been horrific. Are you really going to message this? And then that all harkens back to what I've always said. Like they're just not built for this.
Yeah.
It's like
Well,
that's why I'm so negative on it. It's like what Kotig told Satya, and he had that moment. He goes, and he's like, you should just get out of gaming, Satya.
yeah,
Remember they told that story, and I agree with that.
it's honestly that's what's going to be the biggest hurdle with with this console, especially if it's at a steep price point at over $1,000. Even if it, let's say, even rivals a mid-range PC at that time. The problem is trying to market that thing because the
Well, hey,
Alienware and Steam and Valve
yeah,
both tried it back in 2015, 2014, and they failed because at that time, um, it was just too expensive for this small form factor PC that people just didn't believe in. And what do we have a problem right now with Xbox? It's that trust. It's people not believing in
yeah.
Xbox.
The messaging,
So
which
the
is now
messaging has been horrible.
gone.
The marketing has been horrible.
Yeah.
So it's a tall task for them. And this is one of the reasons why. And I don't say this, I don't say, oh, because Tim says that he's heard that it's up in the air about this console, that I believe that it's not coming out. I'm more in line thinking that I'm more 60-40 that it is coming out. Anything could happen and it might not. That's why I'm giving it like 60-40. I think it can, but I think they're going to have a big problem with marketing this thing, the messaging on this thing, the selling of this thing. Because again, if you promote this as your console, your next console, it prices most console gamers out, period. And they'll just
100%.
buy a
This is
PS6 at
I
that
have to
point.
say, Fonz, this has been a really, really good conversation. And if anybody's really serious at Microsoft, at gaming, they would be listening to this. And I mean that not in a way of like patting ourselves, because I think we are two industry guys like that talked about the industry that are really
It's
knowledgeable
just
about this.
because
And
we're
this
just a part of it.
conversation,
It's
but
it's
yes, right,
it's
which has been a
almost
part
like
of our
common
life.
sense though at this point
Right.
for
But
us.
so,
Like
okay, so now what we're talking about, this last 10 minutes of conversation, these are the conversation that within Microsoft Gaming, I'm not even calling it Xbox anymore.
same Microsoft Gaming.
Within Microsoft Gaming that they're having. So like the stuff that we're talking about now, how are we going to communicate this? How are we going to market it? You think that they're just not doing that? They're talking about this stuff. Yeah, it's on the table. Yes, there are meetings going on at a low level with that MLD Moore's Law talked about. That is all true. But now you're talking about like the bigger heads, like the real executive guys and the decision makers. And they're like, okay, well, how are we going to market this? And I'm of the opinion you gave 60-40. I'm 37 that they're just going to
Wow.
say, no way.
Yeah.
Because I can't figure out a fucking way to, and I don't like cursing on your podcast, but
No, no,
I'll
go
try
ahead.
not to. But I don't like doing that. I cannot think for the life of me, and I've tried. Like, how could we position this? Like, okay, first things first, they need new leadership. I think that's obvious. Who is going to be that leadership? That's my first question. Who can do this? Do we have any suggestions? I don't even think certain people would even take it. Like if you knocked on Sean Layden's door, he'd be like, I'm not dealing with that. I don't like Game Pass. I'd get rid of Game Pass, whatever. So they need new leadership. Then they need to rebuild their brand image. Okay,
Oh,
because we can
100%.
all agree it's broken. So they need somebody to say, okay, and that's why I'm at 3070 is because how do you do that?
As
Okay,
Texas Lean said in the chat, it's kind of a recipe for failure.
exactly, that's the way I kinda feel, so that's
Yeah.
why I think the word's dogmatic about it, like, I just feel like it's there's no helping this. Now, if there is a positive side of me, I do like the idea, I just don't know how they can communicate it, I don't know how they can get this brand image that they have right now going and this sense of confusion that's surrounding it. They have to clear that. How do they wipe that? One way is to get new leadership. And then that new leadership, which this might be happening right now, is now in discussions, and Phil's on his way out, and so is Sarah. That Phil, and they're out, but that Phil would be, if he was running Xbox, these conversations are having now. So if they
You know the
are,
best way to handle this, I think. It just kind of came to me. The best way that they can handle this is honestly to lean heavily into that PC market. And
well,
not
they
say
are
that
doing.
you're one of the, your console's not going to be able to be taken apart or added to and all that stuff. You're not going to be able to add RAM and stuff like that. So that's out. But what I'm talking about is like leaning heavily into it being open to all those other apps. You're talking Steam, you're talking Epic, and you really push the fact that this thing plays everything, including those PlayStation games that come, at a later date after release. But you have to lean into that. You can't just rely on Xbox as a name because that's already been sullied. That name has been
Yeah,
drugged through the mud so
Microsoft
much.
Gaming. Microsoft Gaming. It's going to be called. They might just go with
No, no, no,
Magnus. I
no,
think
no,
it's just a
no.
name.
I mean, they're going to slap the name Xbox on it. That because
Yeah,
that's the best thing
I
they
don't
can
know.
do. But
I don't know
Microsoft and
about that.
Xbox is sullied, man. They've ruined
Yeah,
a lot of that goodwill that they had at one
one
time,
hundred
and it's
percent.
going to be very hard to get that back. And if you're trying to sell this new product that is actually open to Steam and these other apps, lean heavily into that. And that's your best
Yeah,
bet.
but
And I don't think
okay.
that's even
Well,
going to
how are you
sell a
going to
lot of
attack?
consoles. I don't.
Okay, so if you're going to lean heavily into the PC guy, which looks like they're going to do, how are you going to tell the guy that is a PC gamer, but he also wants to stream and he also wants to use functionality of a
That's
PC?
going to be a
That
problem. You're right.
So you have a problem there.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I do think though the 20 million, let's say they lost 10, the 20 million that could be their market that they can go after, and then you maybe take that and cut it in half because only 10 million of them can afford a 1200 price point. Um, that 10 million that you're going after, I do think that you could lean on the console. The guys like Culp, just say like a guy
That's
like
where you
Culp.
lean on to the ease of use of things. And you know what they have to bring
Right.
back? You know what they need back is YouTube. Being able to get streaming to YouTube right away. Like
Yes.
they need to
Well,
do
that's
that.
yeah. They need to make it. See, in a
And
way, if
Twitch.
they're going to do Nagas, 100%. They have to have a way. TikTok too. TikTok, you could stream games. Streaming is, listen, this is another conversation we're not going to get into, but I'm just going
Yeah,
to
yeah.
say this. Streaming is an occupation that is going to be a huge occupation in the next 10 years, 5 years. Even when Magnus comes out, it's growing. Everyone is streaming, everyone's on TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's doing that. It's going to even grow further. So you have to have an ease of use for streaming. So that means if I want
For
to go to
sure.
TikTok and I want to go to YouTube, I should just be able to have the ease of use, and to have that ease of use communicated to me as a consumer as, hey, I hit a YouTube button, just like the share button. Like now, this new Magnus has an innovation where you have a YouTube, or you have some way of just saying, okay, and I'm broadcasting. You
Yep.
preset it, whatever. You don't have to get that in depth of it. You
And then
know,
of course you have your key features like quick resume and things like that that entice
yes,
people to, yeah. You've got to
right.
have
So
that.
you do have something that you got some potential here, but then you also have the recipe for disaster, or a recipe for failure that one of the gentlemen said in your thing that
Yeah,
you
yeah,
have
yeah.
going on.
I
So you need
yeah.
a new mind involved. You can't have Sarah. You can't
Nope.
have, they're just not. Sarah. I think Phil maybe, but Phil is just, he's checked out. So
Yeah.
you need somebody like he used to work. I forgot. I met him once. The guy in Windows. He was a brilliant guy. I forgot
Larry
his
Herb. No, I'm
name.
just kidding.
No, 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 no. what was his name? I forgot his freaking name, but you need somebody like a star executive that can really have this vision and that can kind of communicate it and get everything going. I mean, is it impossible?
It's a tall
No, it's
task, man.
not.
You
It's a
can't ever say
very tall
never, but
task.
it's
And
so
that's why I'm
freaking
at
hard.
37. So now when you're like, when I said 37, you're like, oh, but that's why it's like, it's such a tall
Yeah.
task. There just comes a time where if you're in that executive board meeting, you just be like,
Because
you just throw your hands up and say, just sell it, just
and I know
throw the
that
money
there's a
all out.
lot of
And
people
that's,
out there that'll scream at you and I and say, "Of course they're coming out with a console. Of course it's going to do well." You know, these
yeah,
Xbox guys, but it's like you
yeah,
really need to think about the entirety of the situation where Xbox is
yeah,
at in the public eye, where their consoles are at right now, what they're selling, what they're not selling, I should say, and could they possibly, like, even if on their best days going forward, I don't see a console that's $1,200 or even $1,000 really selling 50 million units. We're
no,
we're
no,
talking about probably in the realm of 15 million units maybe being
that's
sold
high, bro.
total.
That's high.
Total. I'm talking about for
Yes,
lifetime.
yes. And then listen, then they have the idea of Europe is a whole other tackle. Like their brand, if you think it's bad in States or North America, in Europe, it's just it's non-existent. It's irrelevant. It really is. UK maybe we have a glimmer of hope here, but uh, what are they doing on the third party OEM? I just don't see a cohesive plan with the current leadership right now. And I just think that the current leadership also has things tied to them that we kind of didn't go into that they can just if they go with new leadership, they can just eradicate all that bullshit. They can start fresh and they can start with a new type of
They still have to, even
idea
with
that
new leadership, you have to build that
listen.
rapport. That it's it's like from the ground up again.
Yeah, but I do think that
But it's needed.
there might be somebody who can do that. I mean, listen, like you said, there are some positives, real positive stuff.
Yeah.
Like you're going after the PC. I mean, I watched Moore's Law video and I watched who was it? I forgot. Somebody else was talking about it. But they were genuinely like, "Hey, like this really could work and I'm really excited about
Mhm.
this." So you could get a certain segment of gamers, plus you could get the hardcore Xbox guys that are just like gonna go with them no matter what, and they
Yeah.
think that they could do no wrong, and they still got some of them. And then you got a guy like me that, yeah, if it's $1,200, I'm probably gonna buy it, and if it's cool, but, the thing is that, we do talk about this, and we're not talking about this like when these Xbox fans and these people that are hardcore, I don't really think that they're looking at the whole situation the way it should be looked at. They're looking at it in a way that they're emotionally tied to it. You gotta take your emotion out of that, okay? And your love and your memories all out of that. You gotta look at this like a business thing, okay? Like a business plan, and you gotta look at it completely objectively. And I think that the real spotlight of this podcast tonight is that we're doing that. We're kind of really taking it out. We're looking at it and saying, okay, how can we go? And the thing that my point is that you gotta have a feasible idea of how they could do this and to make it make sense. And that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. We're giving a
I
lot of
think,
opinions here, but we're also looking at things objectively and trying to
yeah.
wonder how things can be done going forward with
And you don't
Xbox.
think that in an executive board meeting when they're talking about, billions of dollars and a ton of money that they're gonna have to throw at AMD and they have this contract and this and that. Um, you don't think that they have guys in the room like Fonz and I that are saying this stuff and that are you think it's just like, "Yes. Yes, okay, we'll just do that. Everything's gonna be great." You don't think that they haven't seen this public reaction? They don't you don't think that they're not having conversations? They are. And there's very real people. Listen, the one thing about Phil I'll give him is that he always wanted Xbox to exist. And there was a time in 2017 where Satya really was ready to pull the plug, and Phil kind of kept it going through Game Pass with the idea of subscription because it was a subscription model. And I've talked about Satya and the way he wants everything to be streamlined. He wants the whole company to be doing the same thing, same margin, the same type of things they're going after. And the other thing that he went after was the cloud. So he had those two things selling points to Satya that he got him to buy in. Then he greenlit the Xbox Series X, and then COVID hit, and then that was the thing that really threw the wrench in because it gave Satya the idea of, hey, gaming is the future. This is the future of multimedia. This is where we're going. You know, he mentioned things like, a multiverse or whatever. He said something about Call of Duty and Activision. So then he invested all this money into Activision, and then they thought they were going to get this certain uptick, but they got the opposite. Okay, they got the 2023. They're selling Xboxes for 359 Series X's. Think about that, and it wasn't selling out. It was in the stores. They were selling Xbox Series S's for $179 that Christmas, and it wasn't selling out. Okay, that's when they knew they had the major problem. That's when they did the pivot to multiplats. That's when Tim Stewart said we're going to think about consoles in a different way, and then so the story goes. February, they announced 4 games. They had that stupid podcast. They cared about public opinion then. Fast forward to today or a
They
week
don't
ago,
care. Yeah.
they don't care anymore. We're at that
R-
stage.
RP Spaces in the chat says no. He says, what did he say here? He said supposedly Xbox has been dead every year since 2013. Look, I don't think you're really listening to what I'm saying. It's when I say Xbox is dead, I don't mean that they're not making any profits, that they're going under as a company, and you're never going to see Xbox again. No, what I'm saying is Xbox, what you've known to be Xbox in the past, what we've all known Xbox to be, that console manufacturer, that, that value proposition they used to give you with Game Pass and everything, that's dead. Now it is strictly Microsoft gaming. The name Xbox is only alive in name alone. That's it. Everything that Microsoft was and what they stood for in the past and what they've done for you is gone. They are no longer that Xbox. I
When a
don't
guy says
see it that
something,
way.
yeah. So when a guy says something like that, Xbox has been dead since 2013. To that person, I propose this question to you: what has happened since 2013? Your market share going into 2013 was 100 million. What is their market share now? Okay, what is it? What is it being proposed to for next? So we're talking. Me and Fonz are talking about a 10 million, a 10 million target market. That's all you need to know. They're slowly dying. So I don't know what to tell you. You know, you think it's like it's some type of thing here. It's like we're at a point where they're slowly dying before our eyes. Like, what are you not seeing? You're thinking things are good? I'm genuinely asking. Do you think what's happening is good?
Yeah, well, every time you hear an article pop out and say, hey,
I
there's
mean,
something going on at this studio or that studio, how can you possibly look at that and say, everything is fine? Don't worry. You see Perfect Dark completely just canceled. The whole studio gone. And it's like, well, everything's still fine, guys. Halo, I mean, 343, they rebrand Halo Studios. You think, okay, they're righting the ship. Nope. There's turmoil going on. There's still people freaking leaving. It's not a good look. I don't see how anybody can look at Xbox and be like, yeah, there's no problem. I don't see that.
There's major problems. There's major problems. That's the reality. And I don't think it's
And I'm not
possible.
saying there's
I
no
I
issues
feel
at other companies. Sony, in my opinion, haven't put out the best games this generation either. I'm not a huge fan of most of the stuff they've thrown out there.
Sony doesn't have these
But
problems.
Sony isn't having all this turmoil and everything going on with all their studios. They might have some little uh, things that pop up here and there in some of their studios, but nothing along the lines of Xbox. Sony's biggest problem is they don't have enough studios to give them enough games. That's the way I look at Sony right now.
Sony, listen, Sony, you're talking about Sony's market share is 150 million, buddy.
Yeah, it's a
Like,
lot.
let's not talk about them in the same vein anymore. They're not in the same room.
Yeah.
We're talking about Xbox, and I'm telling Fonz that 15 million is shooting high. You're gonna tell me in
Yeah.
2013 that to now that we're at the point we're talking about a tenth of the market share that they're
Mm.
gunning for. If they hit the tenth, if they hit 10 million, it's a success. You're gonna tell me that that's good, sir? I
Yeah.
mean, are we being honest here? Then it comes to the point, are you being disingenuous now? Because they have major issues. They're doing things with Game Pass that they don't even come out, and you were basically you couldn't even get to a cancel site. It was locked up because everyone was canceling Game Pass. I mean, what are we like? Are we still talking stupid? Can we have some type of reality in your mind? Like, I mean, come on.
Well,
Like,
Xbox is
get
king. He's in my chat and he said Sony sold way more consoles yet barely squeaked by with a few billion dollars over at Microsoft. You don't understand. Microsoft bought King. They are making so much money off of mobile alone. They're making so much money off of that ABK acquisition already. I get that. Those profits are there, but those profits have been there. That's not a result of Xbox taking over. That's a result of
yes.
just those being there. They've already been in place.
And
The
they're still not beating Sony. They're still losing to them in
and they're
revenue.
still, yeah, exactly. And
I
the
mean,
thing
come
is, like,
on. You just infused $100 billion into your model and you're not beating Sony
and
still.
then you look
Are
at
you
what they're
gonna
doing with AI. They just invested, what was it, 60 billion or whatever into AI. It was a really high number. And you don't think that is going to infiltrate the studios as well and hurt some of those gaming development? You know, it might be churning out games faster. The cycles might be quicker, but are they going to be quality titles? Jury's still out on that. We'll have to see. But I'm just
Yeah.
saying that this is not a good situation. I hate the fact that we have so many content creators out there on either side. It doesn't matter, but we're specifically talking about Xbox here. So I'm going to talk about Xbox. You guys keep bringing Sony up and stuff, but this is Xbox. Xbox content creators, I do not like the fact that some of them, a lot of them, I will say, are manipulating a lot of you into thinking that everything is fine based on profits, based on what they're making. And you can easily see that there is issues going on amongst these studios. There's issues amongst these games. There is a problem when I've already explained to you that within Game Pass, if you spend a single minute within a game just to try it, that counts as one of those millions or 2 millions, 3 millions, whatever it is that played that game, the MAUs that they want to really tout.
Now,
At the
yes.
end of the day, sales are still king with these games. They are still king.
Yeah.
I don't care what anybody says. Yes, you want to have those monthly active users. Yes, you want people involved with those games, but you have to fucking be involved in those games. Spending a minute or even an hour in a game doesn't make that profit margin back for them at all. They look at that and they're like, well, that's not long enough. You're not spending enough time in this game. You're not buying the microtransactions. You know, it's not helping at all. I don't see where people don't see some of the glaring issues that we've brought up in this episode, and
I
just
mean
think
I mean,
everything is fine.
there are a lot of people, I think the majority of people who are being honest about it and see that there's glaring issues. I mean, my issue with the whole situation, I think there's a lot of self-preservation going on within the community. with the YouTubers that they're worried that if Xbox goes away, that they won't have viewers and they won't make money. Let's be honest.
Oh, no, no, no. Of course, that's how a lot of these content creators are.
But I like to
For
those
sure.
creators, I don't think that they have confidence in themselves, but I think that there are a lot of creators within Xbox that are very good, that they can still cover the industry. And I would tell any
Yeah,
one of
100%.
them, like, it doesn't have to be something where you lose your income, or if you consider it that. My problem is just like some of these journalists, these Xbox journalists, that aren't really there's no investigative journalism going on now. Like the stuff that I talked about, really, there are maybe some that are looking into this, but there's a lot of journalists that are just being basically, hey, how's it going? It's going great, right? Yeah, no problems. No problems to report. Okay, that's great. I'll report that. And they're making these articles or deflecting things that are very real, and they're not doing their due
Are
diligence.
you saying that some of these journalists are just basically PR mouthpieces for these
Yes, that's
companies?
a major.
Yeah,
Ethically, I have a problem with that. I think that's unethical.
yeah.
I think,
I
and I think that in general, with anything with journalism, okay, I think this is a problem just in general journalism itself. Like you have like right side journalists, you have left side journalists, and both of them are painting their side of the picture and not the truth.
yeah.
The truth should be king. And I think with Xbox, there's a lot of the journalists that aren't telling the truth, or they're not trying to find out the truth. That's my problem with that whole situation.
Yeah, and I think when it comes to talking about the truth, I mean, there's a lot of people also that are, mouthpieces for Xbox, some of these content creators that will tout some of these games that I've mentioned even earlier, that don't sell well or don't really do well. And matter of fact, I can look at
Yeah,
their gamer score and stuff and see like their achievements and see that they haven't even
yeah.
beat some of these games that they tout so much. And I'm like, wait a minute, you just said that was one of the best games and it's a reason why to get into Game Pass, yet you didn't even beat that game. And it just
Listen,
it annoys the shit out of me how many people um I I don't want to go into it too much. I did it last week, but if you heard my rant, I just think a lot of these guys are just mouthpieces and manipulators, and they do it for the clout, they do it for the money. And that's whatever. If that's their hustle, that's their hustle. But at the end of the day, you gotta have some
yeah,
integrity. And it's just weird.
agreed. That's
Anyways,
the thing.
we're coming on 2 hours here. I want to get to ending the show, Tim, because again,
Sure.
we're
Great
2
show.
hours in, but we had a great show, great discussion. But I want to ask you this last thing before we leave.
Mhm.
Best case scenario, where do you see Xbox in 5 years?
New leadership. Um, the console hits, and it actually does very well. Like it hits expectations, and finally they hit expectations, and they are planning for another Magnus 2. That's the best case scenario. And do I think it's impossible? No, I don't think it's possible. But you got to start with new leadership. You need a tabula rasa, whatever, a clean slate. You need 100% clean slate. They got major problems here. They got,
Okay.
not only do they have the problems that we detailed, there's a lot of problems that they can totally eradicate if they just start over. And that's what they need to do, 100%.
Gotcha. I see them in, I'm going to answer my own question here. For me personally, I see them in 5 years being a huge third party publisher with, possibly a console, a Magnus out there that has possibly sold a little over 10 million, maybe 15. But I
Shut the fuck up, Tim, you piece of shit.
you dumbass. Freaking that's septic sauce. RP Spaces with $2. Thank you very much. Says Tim, you claim next gen was dead, then backtracked.
What do you mean by that?
I don't know what he means by that. Danny Passion Official, member for 5 months, says Xbox has all the cards, but they don't know how to use them. They are the house
Very
of
good
the
point.
biggest IP. True, Danny. That's a very good point, and I think that's what we have been.
That's a great point. I think that's what we've been trying to figure out the whole time. Who just said that? Whoever said that, props to you. You summed it up.
Danny Passion, smart guy.
Danny Passion, very smart.
He's one of the guys that said that for him, the $30 a month for Game Pass was just too much. He had to cancel. So he's no longer doing that. Yeah, because he used to try games and stuff, and he says for $30, I'm not going to sit there and try new games. You know,
you make the price point too high. That's the problem. You priced out a very large section of people.
And
that doesn't make sense. So.
And even if you do the math and you say, even if they got 5 million people or even 10 million people to leave Game Pass right now, they're still making money because they've upped that price by 50%. It's insane.
Wow. 100%.
So, yeah.
Great show, man. This
awesome.
is great show.
Yeah. I had a lot of fun talking with you guys, talking with you, Tim, and you know, going over some of this stuff. It's too bad that there's certain things we can't talk about out loud. One day we probably could, especially if it gets out there.
Give it whenever that guy
yeah, I'm thinking that guy is gonna say
he's gonna be the whistleblower.
Yep.
I think that he's being talked to right now, that guy. So
I'm sure they're trying to hush him.
Microsoft, before we go, Microsoft will go after you. That guy they make you sign NDAs. They make you they do. You're not allowed to talk sparingly about the concept.
And that's the reason why we're not bringing it up on the show. We're not. Yeah, we don't want involved in any of that nonsense.
I know nothing. Yep. You guys are right. I'm totally clueless. I am crazy. I'm actually crashing out as I am crashing out. I'm ready to take my Prozac right now. Thank you guys for caring so much. I really love you all.
Yeah, seriously. All right, Tim. Well, it was a good talk. Guys, you know, this is just one of those random streams I decided to do last week. I was like, you know, I need to do more of these random streams, you know, outside of GTL.
Kill a podcast, bro.
I have a lot of fun. Maybe talk with more people in the community, do these one-on-ones. People with different perspectives. I don't mind. Like,
get that guy Danny. I want to hear that guy, the one who summed up our whole. Can you get him on?
I had him on last week, actually. Yeah, I had him on last week.
Can you get him again, and I'll listen to it.
Exactly.
Just let me know.
Exactly.
Awesome. Honestly, really props up to that guy. Very, very smart thing he said.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys, and till tomorrow, actually, because tomorrow me and Hargeet will be on GTL.
Nice.
Contrary to what a lot of people believe, because Hargeet is the total opposite of me when it comes to how Microsoft is doing, what they're doing with Game Pass and all this stuff. It doesn't matter. We still get along. We can still freaking talk.
Hargeet's awesome. Hargeet, I don't agree with him on certain things, but I love Hargeet. I think
Hargeet's a great person.
Very good.
Awesome person. And so people thought I kicked him off the show and stuff. I'm like, no. Hargeet's still there. And so, yeah, we may have an argument or two tomorrow about the situation, but outside of that, you know, we talk games. At the end of the day, that's what it's all about. Anyways, guys, until tomorrow.